My favorite lights to review are ones that do something that no other lights do, and luckily, this is one of those times. These are the Gold Crow GC60 D5 and X5 from Inkee, and they're one of the most unique lights that I've ever used. A lot of times when brands try to do something out of the box, it turns out pretty gimmicky. The Gold Crow lights do pretty much everything different from traditional lights, but in a really clever and practical way. The GC60 D5 is daylight only, and the X5 is bicolor, and they both have 60 watts of output. These lights are not much bigger than a large water bottle, but if you're worried that you're going to be stuck using small proprietary modifiers only, you need to cut that out. That's because one of the coolest things about these lights is how the modifier mount works. They do come with a small mini-Bowens style modifier that locks into place with a flip latch mechanism, and it focuses the light into a tighter beam angle, giving you about 2 full stops of extra brightness. The more satisfying thing is that these lights have a hidden full-size Bowens mount as well. The diameter of these lights is actually smaller than a Bowens mount, but by expanding the arms, you can attach all your usual modifiers in the same way. It's not only super clever, but it's much more sturdy than the typical Bowens mount adapters that I see for smaller lights. These lights are made entirely of metal, and they have 4 1/4-inch threaded holes, complete with locating pinholes around the edges, so you can attach accessories or the included handle. The included handle is also really well thought out and gives you all kinds of other mounting options. It has about 1,000,000 1/4 and 3/8-inch threaded holes, as well as a NATO rail. It also doubles as a light stand adapter and has a spring-loaded locking angle adjustment at the top. You just press the little screw head button to unlock it, and you can adjust it up to 90 degrees. The mounting holes on these lights also opens up the possibility to attach 2 or more together for when you need added brightness. Not only are they very well made, but they have a really nice weight to them, thanks in part to their internal batteries. They give you 2 full hours of runtime at 100% brightness, which is really great. The typical 60-watt light that supports NPF batteries pretty much max out around 1 hour. Inkee also gives you a USB-C fast charger to recharge these lights in 2 hours, or to power them indefinitely at max power. You can charge these lights with any other USB-C source, it just might take a little longer. Or you can use something like a power bank or V-mount battery to extend the runtime of these lights. The battery capacity is 142 watt-hours, so they are under the limit for carry-ons when flying with items that have internal batteries. One last thing to mention about power is that these lights can act as a power bank themselves. So they can charge any other devices via USB-C at up to 100 watts, which is both really convenient and really impressive. One of the design decisions that Inkee made on this light to make it more weatherproof was to exclude any type of buttons at all. Instead, they use a universal control ring to control everything on this light, which is just a fancy name for the big dial at the back of the light. It has hard stops as you turn it, and everything is controlled with full or half clicks. The lights are shipped in transport mode to keep them from accidentally turning on or changing settings during travel. To exit transport mode, you continuously rotate the ring clockwise until the progress bar reaches the end, and then one final big turn will unlock it completely. You can adjust the brightness in increments of 1% with slower turns or 10% with faster ones. On the bicolor GC60 X5, you turn the ring and hold it halfway between stops clockwise to jump into CCT mode. From there, you can adjust the color temperature in increments of 100 from 2700 to 6500 Kelvin. Then you just wait a couple seconds and it will automatically jump back into the main screen where you can readjust the brightness. If you turn and hold the ring counterclockwise halfway between stops, you can choose between constant mode and 5 different special effects like dying light bulb or flickering TV set. A couple of them have a few speed options to choose from, and again, if you wait a few seconds, you can adjust the brightness, or on the bicolor version of this light, the color temperature of the effects as well. To turn these lights off, you just set them to 0% brightness, and then one more big counterclockwise turn will lock them. The display itself is very bright and easy to read, and the home screen has some really useful information. It shows the battery percentage, voltage, and runtime remaining at the current settings, which is really helpful and very accurate. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see charging stats for when the light is plugged in. To maintain the weatherproofing, it also comes with a little rubber plug for the USB-C port, so make sure you hold on to that and keep it installed if you plan to shoot in the rain. There's no mobile app control for these lights, but there is a little hardware remote if you really want to control them wirelessly. They do also have fans inside, but they only come on at higher brightness levels when they reach a certain temperature, and they are very quiet, so they're not going to affect your audio in anyway. I measured the GC60 D5 and X5 with my Sekonic C800 for brightness and color accuracy, and I got the following results. The GC60 D5 is daylight only, and at max brightness, I got a CCT of 5514 Kelvin, a brightness of 4510 lux, and a color correction number of 0.6 green. I also got a CRI of 95.2, a TLCI of 98, and an SSI versus the daylight standard of 74. All around, really great numbers, and the brightness is about 1/3 stop brighter than other 60-watt lights. With the bicolor GC60 X5 set to 3200 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 3088 Kelvin, a brightness of 2860 lux, and a color correction number of 1.3 green. I also got a CRI of 96.4, TLCI of 97, and SSI versus the tungsten standard of 84. Set to 5500 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 5382 Kelvin, a brightness of 2930 lux, and a color correction number of 1.6 green. I also got a CRI of 95.7, a TLCI of 98, and an SSI versus the daylight standard of 73. So the bicolor version has more magenta tint than average, but LEDs turn greener over time, which should bring it closer to neutral with more use. As long as you set your white balance properly, it's not going to be an issue. And that's something you should be doing all the time, no matter what brand or light you're using, because both the color temperature and the tint will shift depending on things like the modifier you're using or the brightness the light is set to. Now, as much as I love these lights, they aren't perfect, and I do have some advice for future upgrades or fixes. The first thing is that they don't hold modifiers in place tightly. There is some play between the modifier and the mount, so if you plan to use these handheld, you might hear some rattling. That really only applies to stock reflectors that are all metal, and softboxes are heavy enough that it kind of keeps them from rotating and rattling around on their own. And when they're on light stands, it's not so loose that it bothers me at all. They could potentially fix this by adding some hard rubber or plastic within the mount to make it tighter or quieter. It's more of a nitpick than an actual problem, and I don't think it's really going to affect the majority of people. And that's not really unique to these lights. There's a huge variation in fitment tolerance between different brands, and that's just kind of the way the Bowens mount is. The other thing is that the locating pins on the handle it comes with are slightly too far apart. So once you screw it into the light, you kind of have to wiggle the light around while you continuously screw to get it secure. I already mentioned this to Inkee, and they said they're on top of it, so it should be an easy fix. The GC60 D5 and X5 come with the light, mini reflector, handle, remote control, USB-C fast charger, a second smaller USB-C cable, and a carrying pouch for around $360. I think that's pretty darn good considering a similarly sized V-mount battery costs $100 or $200 by itself, and a 60-watt light will run you another $150 to $200 on the low end. Obviously, these have internal batteries, and there are other differences with other lights, but these are just as capable as traditional COB lights while having a lot of other stuff going for them. Overall, the Inkee Gold Crow GC60 lights are super flexible and bring a lot to the table in a very minimal package, so I highly recommend them. But what do you think? Leave a comment and let me know how you might put these lights to use. Links are in the description if you want to check these lights out further, and if you buy anything at all after clicking my links, that's the best way to support this channel without any extra cost to you. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.